He's right. Mathematically, there is a chance. You're right. You're right that randomly things could occur and seem like they're completely organized. You're absolutely right. The problem is this, though. The alternative is that it's not random. And the probability of it being random is infinitesimally small, and therefore the probability of it not being random is infinitesimally large.
So you basically just say it's very unlikely.
No, it's absurd. It's absurd to take that position.
That's just you bringing your own.
No, well, the problem is this, you see. If this was a matter other than God, science would be settled on the matter. Because it's just so absurd to consider that you're 10 billion times more likely to find an atomic particle whilst blindfolded somewhere in the universe.
Who came up with this figure?
Desires, basically. So in Hinduism, you find that you see this transformation over thousands of years. So idols are now worshipped, when in fact in their core teachings it's forbidden. Same with Christianity. So if you look at, for example, the literal words of Jesus, peace be upon him, what does he say? Your Lord, your God is one. He himself worships the Creator. So his explicit teachings seem to be pointing to him as a messenger.
I mean, I don't deny that.
Yeah.
You know, Christianity, Islam, all of that is monotheistic.
Yes,
but I mean,
well, in its core.
Hinduism, I'm not sure.
No, in its core teachings. But of course, even Christianity today, if you worship Jesus, who we would regard as a messenger of God, not a God, not a creator, or not eternal, as God is eternal, we would see that as idolatry because you're worshipping creation together with the creator. So in Islam, we have this very strict form of monotheism, which is you do not associate partners with God in any shape or form. So, for example, you're probably aware, you know your master's in theology or comparative religion? So you're probably aware that for a Muslim to, for example, worship Muhammad, peace be upon him, would be regarded as idolatry, right? So we don't worship Muhammad. And in fact, when the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, passed away, the famous saying of the first Caliph, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he said, all those who worship Muhammad know that he has died. And all those that worship the Lord of Muhammad, the creator of Muhammad, he is everlasting, ever living. So a distinction was made immediately. And so what we're doing here is we're bringing people back to those core teachings, those foundational teachings that God is one, God is absolute, and that you do not associate partners with the Creator in any shape or form. So even, for example, me attributing you with power to, say, harm me would be a mild form of shirk, a mild form of idolatry, because now I'm having faith in your abilities to change my destiny, when in fact we believe that Allah is the one that controls all and everything, basically, right? So, but yourself, as not accepting, perhaps, or not fully accepting the concept of a creator, if I could just ask you as to why you've come to that conclusion.
I mean, I'm like ambivalent about whether I've been created or not. I guess I'm more agnostic because I just don't know what to choose out of all of these religions.
Yes. That's and your family, what background are you from, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm Korean.
Oh, Korean.
So my parents are pretty agnostic.
Agnostic as well. So Christianity tends to be quite strong in Korea as well, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, Christianity and Buddhism.
And Buddhism. And what's the native religious beliefs of Koreans? Do they have a religion there, or?
I guess it's before Christianity came, it was Buddhism.
It was Buddhism. Okay. So Buddhism doesn't deal with the concept of the creator. God is sort of out of the equation in many ways. Buddhism is a philosophy.
Because reincarnation.
Yes.
It kind of
Yes. So are you averse to the concept of there being a creator, or is that something that you have accepted?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there are loads of arguments to sort of try to suggest that, reduce the infinite regress of cause and effect and all of that crap.
Right. I wouldn't call it crap.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to offend you.
No, not offended. I'm just saying I wouldn't call it. I think they're very strong arguments. I think they're incredibly strong because intuitively, I think you would agree that anything that comes into existence, we would require an answer as to where those things came from.
But what if reincarnation is right and there is an infinite regress and there was no starting point?
Okay, but you see, first of all, infinite regress in itself is a fallacious argument, I would suggest.
How so?
So, for example, if you have to take an infinite number of steps for a particular action to occur, would that action ever occur?
Sure, so that's like the paradox of Parmenides and Zeno about the arrow, right?
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's the same thing, but what I'm trying to say to you is that we exist.
as in, it's a brute fact that either we're created or it could just be a brute fact that we're in infinite regress.
Yeah.
That's my point.
I agree.
Perhaps we
I agree that you'd have to perhaps go to these two paradigms, right? I think one is illogical because, as I said to you, we know that we exist. We know that we had a beginning, right? At a certain point in history, right? In a certain causal link, there was a link when the universe came into existence. Would you agree?
In a causal link in events, there was a time when the universe came to exist.
Yes.
But then that's where I would say...
No, do you agree to that?
No, I would disagree. I mean, I could disagree.
Okay. On what basis would you disagree?
On the view of, that we are in a infinite loop.
What I'm saying, my question was, in a particular series of events, there was a time when this universe came into existence. That's something that I'm saying to you. Do you agree with that?
But I just feel like, could you not view that we just always exist?
No, because...
Why is that fallacious?
Well, because, look, first of all, everything we know suggests that the universe came into existence.
Do you know God?
No.
God is...
No, but that's a different question. The issue here is we know that the universe came into existence, whether we say 14.3 billion years ago or whether we say 30 billion years ago, we know that we came into existence at some point within a series of some form of events, whatever those events might be. Right? The point is, if you had an infinite series of events leading up to this event would never happen, because you cannot span an infinite series of events to reach a particular event. So by that concept, the infinite regress becomes a fallacious argument or an argument that actually cannot be supported, because we wouldn't exist today. There couldn't have been an infinite series of events leading up to this event. Because for every step one that you take forward, you're taking 2 steps back. So you're never going to get forward. You see my point?
I guess I can see that.
So that's the first point. The second point would be, well, what is the explanation then for all of these events that took place? Now, you could say, well, it could be a material cause, but then you'd have to assert that the material cause has intelligence, has a will, has decided when something comes into existence, and has proportioned it in a particular way.
Sorry, I lost you. Could you just repeat that last
Okay.
thing? Sorry.
So what you'd have to argue, if it was a material cause to everything, you'd have to argue that material cause somehow is infinite.
When you're talking about material cause of everything, what are we trying to...
So what I'm trying to say to you is, look, things can happen either through an immaterial, a metaphysical cause, like the creator, like God, or something can happen from another physical cause. If you see an eruption,
like Big Bang or
whatever it might be, right? But ultimately, you have to get to a point, logically, I think, rationally, where there has to be a first cause of everything, that it itself cannot be caused, otherwise it cannot be the first cause, okay? And that has to be the...
so you also agree in a concept of infinity? God, for you, would be an infinity,
we agree in a necessary
infinity
existence or a necessary being.
The thing you have to ask yourself about this infinity, is it an infinity number of dependent things? If it's an infinity of dependent things, you still need something independent for them to exist. So whatever is dependent becomes part of a set of dependency, and you need something independent to be the explanation for that dependent thing. Because you can't have dependent things without an explanation. You know the argument for contingency, isn't it?
Right.
So if something's contingent...
He's a master's in comparative religion. We're talking to a really clever dude here.
Oh, really? Okay. So
great.
What do you believe then?
I'm pretty agnostic.
He's agnostic. So,
Let me just rephrase that. So
brother, come a bit over this side.
So you're an expert in comparative religion. You've done it. Was it
masters
in
I would
comparative religion, and you're agnostic.
Yeah, I mean, it really is hard for me.
Why would you do masters in comparative religion if you don't believe in God?
Because I want to know why. I want to know what everyone like. Religion for me, I feel, if you like learn a religion, you can sort of understand a lot about where the culture, where that came.
It's an interesting subject.
For me, I sort of approach it in an anthropological view rather than like a theological view.
Right.
So I never like really studied it to like find God. I studied it because I got a lot of religious friends.
Okay.
I feel like religion plays a really big part in our societies right now.
If I want to go back to my point though with you, yeah? So there are only two rational possibilities. You have to go for a material cause of the universe, which then itself needs an explanation. And if it's contingent, it requires the reasons necessary for its existence, right? Or you deal with something, or you deal with something that is immaterial, outside of time and space, that is the first cause of everything, has the capacity to create this universe with all the fine-tuning and everything else that's necessary for life.
But is that really the only two options we have?
What do you believe?
I think logically, yes, I would say.
Let's delve into what you believe.
Well, I don't like to say I believe in this.
No, but what method do you use to discover truth?
Mine?
Based upon what?
Things I experience.
So what you experience determines truth?
No.
Right, so what determines truth?
What determines truth? I guess truth is independent of me.
No, of course truth is independent from you, because whether you believe it or not doesn't make something true or not. Something's true or not if it's true or not. Whether you believe it or not is irrelevant. The point is this: what method of understanding do you use to understand everything? The scientific method, philosophy, what are you utilizing? What is your tools you're using to measure the reality?
I guess it is a bit of science and philosophy.
Alright, so does science lead to a creator or not? Does science lead to an intelligent agency or not?
Not really, no.
Really?
I don't...
See, because I'll say to you very simply, the science of physics leads to an intelligent agency, the science of chemistry leads to an intelligent agency, and the science of biology
what
also
do you mean
leads
by intelligent agency?
something. Okay, so our human experience is whenever we see information, we know it's an intelligent agency that's produced it.
We see information.
When we see information, so if we read a book, yeah, you pick up Harry Potter, you know somebody's put that book together. It's not just random.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, you don't believe in randomness.
No. We know information is not random.
But like,
is information
something intelligent could have? You don't believe that nothing intelligent could have come out of random?
Listen to what's saying to you. Information, according to our human experience, is a product of an intelligent agency. If you could give me an example of some information that has been generated randomly, give me an example.
Information. Well,
a book that's
when the coronavirus is going out everywhere, we get new strains because they're mutating randomly.
Well, that's information.
Why is that not information?
How is that
DNA.
information?
DNA is literally information.
No. Yeah, that's the point. So you're saying, but how are you saying that's happening randomly?
Because it literally is.
How is it?
They're mutating randomly.
They're mutating in relation to the environment that they're in, right?
Sure.
So they're not.
Are you trying to say if we knew everything about this virus, we could probably predict how it's going to mutate?
What we're saying
I think the point that Hamza's making
human experience is when we have anything that's information, we know it's the result of an intelligent agency.
When it's human information, is that
any information?
I mean, I disagree with that.
Okay, then you tell me where okay. You tell me where the information comes. Yeah, for DNA.
Where the information comes. I mean, I'm not a scientist.
Well, no, because come on, give me an example. Show me where it's from.
Where it's from?
Yeah, where's the information come from?
I guess it's within its sort of cells, which.
But it never existed at one point. So where's the information come to create it?
Pardon?
Where's the information come from to put the molecule together?
See, let me get something in perspective.
No, one second.
No, to your point. If you walk to the British Library and you open up the books and you read them and they make sense to you, would you ever attribute somebody threw ink from space and some paper from space, and as it landed, all of these books, the words lined up, the books were bound, and they somehow fell on the shelves of the library? You would never attribute such a cause to that effect, right?
Yeah.
So to suggest that this universe or information that we find within biology, within chemistry, within DNA, the laws of physics, that somehow these were all random occurrences.
I'll give you an analogy. You've got two choices. William Shakespeare wrote the works of William Shakespeare. Or a billion monkeys typing on a billion typewriters for a billion years.
I think I heard.
No. But this is the probabilities you're playing with. So this is your choices. You have the choice that William Shakespeare did write it, or a billion monkeys on a billion typewriters for a billion years wrote the works of Shakespeare. This is the probabilities you're messing with. When you choose, you're basically aligning with the billion monkeys. Well, I'm going with Shakespeare.
Well, I'm not aligning with it. I'm just conceding that there might be a chance that could happen. Like if
one second. So you're saying there's a chance that a billion monkeys on a billion typewriters typing for a billion years wrote the works of Shakespeare? You think there's a chance of that?
As in, if they were just randomly typing
a billion monkeys?
Yeah, I think there could be a chance.
No, he's right. He's right.
I think there could be a chance if there was like a billion monkeys typing whatever crap.
No. I'm saying to you, there's a chance.
It could produce a book like Shakespeare.
It could do. What's more likely?
Obviously, it's not likely.
No. But you take that.
You want me to take it?
No, that's what you do take.
No, I was just saying I'm conceding that there is a chance.
No. When you try to make the claim that DNA is the result of randomness.
No, mutations.
No, DNA. DNA.
I said mutations.
Okay,
DNA.
I'm referring to information in DNA.
Sure.
Okay. When you take this stance that this is random, you're answering the question of that question about Shakespeare with the billion monkeys.
Right. And I already told you that I think there is a chance that
Look, can I answer that question? Look, go on. The point here is this. Yes, there is a chance.
Can I just underline that?
Mathematically, there is. No, he's right. Mathematically, there is a chance. You're right. You're right that randomly things could occur and seem like they're completely organized. You're absolutely right. The problem is this, though. The alternative is that it's not random. And the probability of it being random is infinitesimally small, and therefore the probability of it not being random is infinitesimally large.
Should I give you an example?
Right? Now, the point here is this, right? Human beings, in everything that we do, everything that we believe, whether it's a TV to buy or which camera or what phone, we generally base our opinions upon balance of probability. That's the reality that we find ourselves in, right? So if 9,999 people say this phone is the best phone that you can buy, and you have one guy, I'm not talking about 9,000, let's say 999,999,000 say this phone is perfect, the best phone that's ever been made. And you got one 6-year-old who says, I don't like the color, right? Who are you going to listen to? Clearly not the 6-year-old, right? Yeah. Right? Because why would you do that? You would do that because you see, on balance of probabilities, highly unlikely that 6-year-old is worth listening to, because the probability of that 6-year-old being right to the 999,999,999 is ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Now, the cause of the universe, the fine-tuning of the universe...
Fine-tuning? Could you expand on that?
Okay, the perimeters that are set in terms of gravity, the cosmological constant,
the laws which we see in nature.
The laws we see in nature, right? If they were out by one atom in the entire known universe, one electron, life wouldn't be the way it is. We wouldn't exist.
Really? I mean, I'm not a scientist.
No, I'm giving you the statistics, right?
Can I give you a working example?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so the way the universe is and the way it could have been. Okay. The chances of it being the way it is now random. Now listen to this probability. If I said to you, we'll take a subatomic particle and we paint it blue. We'll paint it blue, right? And then we blindfold you. And then we give you the power to go anywhere in the universe to search for this subatomic particle.
The
blue one. Whilst blindfolded. Right? And you go anywhere in the known universe to search for this blue particle. The chances of you finding that blue particle are 10 billion times more likely than the universe ending up the way it is by random.
Is it like?
Yeah.
As in, obviously you said it, but like, is it?
Yeah.
How do I know what you said is true?
No, right, you can verify that.
Go and verify
we're not
it.
going to tell you all the information here. This is a learning process. This is something to reflect upon. I'll give you an example. If you were to put zero, the probability, right? You know when you write zero after a word. So if you write 1,000, you write a 1 and 3 zeros, and a million 1 and 6 zeros. All right. If you were to write
That's his bank balance.
this probability, if you were to write this probability with a 1 and then zeros, yeah, you would need more zeros than there are particles in the universe.
Okay.
That is the probability.
So you basically just saying it's very unlikely.
No,
Very,
it's
very,
not.
very
It's absurd. It's absurd to take
But
that
then
position.
that's just you bringing your own.
No, well,
opinion.
the problem is this, you see. If this was a matter other than God, science would be settled on the matter. Because it's just so absurd to consider that you're 10 billion times more likely to find an atomic particle whilst blindfolded somewhere in the
Who
universe.
came up with this figure?
What's that?
This whole like.
This is mainstream science. So you would need
You
more
got that.
zeros than you could
Look.
fill in the entire universe. That's the
Here's
sort
the
of
thing, you see.
statistics that we're
I'm
talking
going to
about.
recommend a book to you. It's called Return of the God Hypothesis
Return
by
of the-
Stephen Mayer. Right? It's written by a Christian guy. Now we're Muslims, but I don't mind if Christians wrote it. Okay. And it goes through the history of science, science with Newton and going all the way through to Einstein, and trying to understand the universe and its origination. And what's being found out is, atheists have this kind of claim that, in 1,000 years' time we'll know and we'll prove how everything happened. It's the reverse is happening. If you follow the yellow brick road to Oz, right, what you'll see is that the more we discover, the more astounding things become. The more we discover, the more things don't make sense. So, for example, science cannot explain how carbon is formed. You can say it's formed inside of a star, but it's the chemical. How did the lighter element go from beryllium and helium to become carbon? We don't know. Okay. In biology, you've got natural selection, which is supposed to be the driving force.
I respect what you say.
No, but what I'm doing, I'm supporting the 3 claims I made with regards to sciences. So in biology, for example, evolution through natural selection is Charles Darwin's view. This is the neo-atheist viewpoint. And random mutation. Now, to have natural selection, to have new genetic code, you need to create these new this new protein. And
That's what DNA is. It's self-replicating.
no, it doesn't self-replicate, right?
It literally.
No, it has to change. It has to be different. It has to be extra from what it was. Okay, and so the explanation in science is random mutation. So there's a random mutation, and what happens is, on some occasions, it's useful mutation, which will then be harnessed by natural selection, which will then be utilized in the evolution process. But the random mutation is the assumed position. That's a presupposition. The random mutation has to be a thing for everything else to occur. When you look at the probabilities of how the...
But I would argue that we can sometimes actually view these random mutations.
No, you can't. You can say what you like, but it doesn't matter what...
You can say what you like.
Well,
as
no.
you know.
I'm quoting what scientists are saying. You're giving your own thoughts. Who said you can see random mutation?
Oh, we're seeing it right now with all
Where
these,
have you seen
with
it?
these COVID
Have you seen it?
variations.
Have you observed it?
Okay, I haven't observed
We haven't
it.
observed it. So how do you know it's random?
But I'm sure, in some
Well,
lab
you said I'm
somewhere,
sure, so you don't know.
There's a scientist who's looking down.
I know,
at
and this
them.
is what you call faith in scientists. I get it, I understand. Because if you're not a believer in a creator, you're not a believer in God, you have to hold on to something. And you'll hold on to these old men who keep saying things and then having to correct themselves when they discover new information that they're wrong, and they keep correcting themselves. And if you follow the history of science, you'll realize it's all...
Right, look, I never said that science is true. Science is only... I agree
No,
that
no,
science
but,
is only
but,
true
no, but what I'm saying
to
is...
its hypothesis,
No, but
right?
what did I say to you? I asked you what do you use to understand truth, and you said science, and I'm saying...
And philosophy.
Well, this is philosophy.
I know.
All right. So what is philosophy? Study of knowledge, yeah? Okay. So basically, we have science, which is your method of understanding things, leading to this intelligent mind. Unless you want to take these absurd probabilities as facts, which they're not.
And the point here is
I
this.
just don't really see how me saying that DNA randomly mutates is an absurd...
But in reality...
No. It's not saying... It's not saying that the DNA random mutating is absurd. What's absurd is the probability that mutation is something positive.
What do you mean by positive?
That it's beneficial that natural selection could then utilize to make into some new organism.
that is beneficial, but I'm not talking about
I
beneficial.
think we're getting bogged down into DNA.
No.
He doesn't understand the science behind it.
I'm not a scientist.
No, you understand that. I understand that. So I'm not going to be too heavy on it. But what I'm saying is, what you're saying is, I'm sure DNA random mutates, but you're not sure. Because I'm telling you you're wrong with regards to that, because that's what I'm saying to you. But for it to random mutate to create a protein that is useful, that natural selection can then utilize to become a new organism, the probabilities is so absurd to even consider it is absurd. But the problem you've got, you see, is because once you...
I'm just not too sure about that.
No, I know. So what I want you to do, this is EFDawah. Yeah, this is our channel, mashallah. I want you to watch the video. I want you to see what's been said to you today, and I want you to go and test it. Because here's the thing, if I'm right...
So you're saying that DNA does not self-replicate, and when it does self-replicate, that will...
No, what I said to you, for DNA so
you agree it mutates?
It can mutate.
Yeah, sure. And how does it... What's the process of it... But what's the process of it mutating? Tell me, please.
What do you mean?
What's the process of DNA mutating?
Okay, me personally, I don't believe in that.
Okay.
I believe in a creator. I believe in an intelligent design. I don't believe information can be created from other than an intelligent agency. I just don't believe it. You can tell me that DNA containing all that information about what colour eyes I'm going to have and all this.
What does intelligent mean, though?
What do you mean?
When you say you don't believe anything comes out other than...
What do you think intelligent means?
I'm not sure. You're the one who said it.
Do you understand the word intelligent? Do I have to Google the word intelligent for you to understand it?
But I want to know in what context you're using it.
Well, what context can you use it?
In a lot of different contexts.
Give me an example.
You're being a bit annoying right now. I'm sorry.
Okay, so give me 2 examples where you can use the word intelligent differently.
I feel like we're getting away from the point.
No, you just said, what context am I using the word intelligent? I said there's only one context you can use the word intelligent. Just demonstrate that I'm wrong. Just give me 2 ways you can use the word intelligent. Because I think intelligent can only mean one thing.
Well, if something's... Maybe that's something I'll come back to you next time.
Yeah. You'll probably come back and say I was wrong about that statement.
Perhaps.
Yeah. So, because sometimes what happens in this kind of environment, you really have to say things to try and, I don't know.
No, honestly, I'm just here to genuinely search for the truth. I feel like you're being the more aggressive one here, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you're saying things that don't make sense. I have to challenge it.
My point to you...
You can have good cop now.
My point to you is
I'm going to
this.
check the United School.
I don't mind.
My point to you is this, right? That whenever we see something that's incredibly complex, we automatically, intuitively realise...
Realise or assume?
Assume, realise, it's the same sort of... It's the synonymous words, aren't they? Realising something, assuming something, believing something, right? That it must have come from an intelligent mind. Now, intelligence is something that's...
But then I completely disagree. I don't know. I just don't feel like that is like a brute fact that...
Let me give you a real life explanation, right? Let's say you go to Cape Canaveral, right? And you see the space shuttle there, okay? And you look at the complexity, the grandeur, the huge, construction of this space shuttle, the electronics, all the little screens and the chips and all the things that must have gone into this, right? Mm-hmm. What is your assumption? Your assumption is, from everything that you know and understand, that someone must have, or some people must have created this. Right? It's normal to assume that, right? You would never assume that metal just fell from the sky and the tornado just struck everything together and then bang, you had this beautiful space shuttle. You would never assume that, would you?
Yeah.
So when you look at the universe, which is far more complex than that space shuttle, that has far more intricate laws, as I say, that go to hundreds and hundreds of decimal places for the precision to be the way it is, for the universe to even function, okay? Why do you come up with the assumption that it must have somehow just come about by itself? That's my point.
Because it's not really that I'm assuming that is the case.
Yes.
I'm just sort of admitting that there is a chance for that.
I agree with you. But the point here is this. There is a chance that you could be an alien lizard man, right? I wouldn't know, would I? Right? There is a chance, right?
Yeah.
On balance of probability. Very low, but they could be, right? But I'm not going to look at you and think...
I mean, it's a lot more easy for you to verify that I'm not. But when we're talking about these abstract concepts about the universe and
Yes.
everything, it's a lot harder for me
Yes.
to actually verify myself.
Okay, but I haven't verified you, have I?
I mean, you're looking at me right now. You're talking to me.
Yeah,
right
but
now.
you could be a lizard man, an alien, right?
Sure. I mean,
You could be, right?
there's
But if
perhaps there's a chance
but
for
if I believe that about you, what would these people think of me?
you're probably that you're a bit.
You're nuts.
Yeah.
That's what they would think, right? Why would they think that? They would think that because I've gone for something so absurd, so outrageous, so unlikely, you're right, that it's bordering stupidity, bordering insanity, right? Bordering something very negative, right? Similarly, when we look at the universe, and this is what Allah says in the Quran, we will show them from the horizons and from within themselves of the manifest truth, the manifest of this religion, Islam, of Allah, right? So the point here is that when we look at the cosmos, when we look at this universe, we can assume certain things, right? But I would suggest that the only rational, reasonable assumption that we can make is that it must have come from an intelligent being that is way more powerful than anything you or I could conjure up, or any human beings could conjure up. Okay, and that's the assumption that I would arrive at as quite a logical assumption. Now, if you have an alternative view to that, and it is incredibly unlikely for it to happen that way, I would humbly ask you the question: why are you going for that and not that? It's a very reasonable question, right? Why are you grappling at something that is bordering, impossibility, and you're negating and neglecting something that is certainty? That's my point.
But I don't know. It's like obviously you're saying that we're created by God, but it's like you've come to that conclusion through your senses here. That's the sort of argument you're making.
No, not really, because that's one argument of many.
So if you were like deaf, blind, all of that crap, would you be able to sort of come to the same conclusion that you are doing right now?
So in Islam, we believe that every human being has a fitra, a disposition to believe certain things. Okay, and one of those things, interestingly, is the belief in a creator. Now, you may have been aware that Oxford University did a study
about kids. I heard talk about that.
And the overwhelming results were that children are predisposed to believe in a God. And culture...
I mean, it's a study. It's one study of many.
Okay, but look, the thing is this. This is what I find a little bit sometimes disheartening, If there's one study that appears to have some negativity when it comes to a creator or God, people, atheists, jump on that study, right? Not that there are any that I'm aware of, to be honest. But at the end of the day, this is a study that's been done. I believe it hasn't really been challenged, right? As far as I'm aware. So I think it would be reasonable to, I'm not saying accept it as absolute fact, but I think using it in an argument is quite reasonable to do, I think.
I can see that. That's fair enough.
Yeah. So there's a predisposition that children have of believing in this creator. And this is very interesting because even the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, every child is born upon its fitrah. And then its family and the culture and the surroundings change the fitrah of that child into a Hindu or a Christian or whatever else.
So the society corrupts the soul.
So society changes the predispositions of believing in a creator.
So then how did the society get corrupted in the first place?
How did the
society get corrupted in the first place to corrupt the fitrah?
Because we believe that when Allah created human beings, the first question that the angels asked Allah, will thou create a being that will spill blood and create mischief on earth? So there is this mischievous nature within human beings as well, corruption within human beings. So there is greed, there are temptations, right?
But you're saying that develops rather than that's innate.
No, I'm not saying that all of that develops. I'm saying
from what I know is that's the sort of point where Islam and Christianity sort of separates, right? The Christians talk about original sin. Islam will say you're born pure, right?
Yes, that's right. But we don't. You see, look, a child can be mischievous, But in Islam, a child is not held accountable for its actions. Okay. Similarly,
I mean, I think that's the same with Christianity as well.
I'm not sure. I mean, because with Christianity, I mean, you do find things in the Bible, for example, a disobedient child, they can be like put to death or something, things like that, right? Which in Islam we don't have this concept. But I'd rather not really talk about that. But my point to you is, look, as a rational, educated human being, right, intelligent, you're educated, right? I would say to you that life is very, very limited. And then we die. And after death, whether your eternal existence is nothingness, or whether your eternal existence is indeed to be answerable for what you've done.
Eternal existence.
Well, eternal reality, let's put it that way, right?
What does that mean, though? Really?
So, if you're an atheist, you might believe that after I die, I turn to dust, and that's it, finished, caputo, right? Kaput. Nothing else happens, right?
Is that what you believe?
No, I'm just saying that could be one.
Sure.
That could be one
I
view.
just feel like it's one of them. When you die, I don't exist. I just don't worry about it.
Yeah,
But what
exactly.
if you have to worry about it?
That was my point. And then the other alternative is that you could have an eternal life after death. And as the Quran says, that Allah will resurrect you on the Day of Judgment and that you will be accountable for the life that He gave you. I think it's reasonable to at least weigh up the likelihood of these two realities. Because eternity, whether it's non-existence or eternal existence, are incredibly important things, right? And so that's why I would urge you to look into it.
The main reason why I struggle to get into a religion, to be honest, it is mostly about the afterlife stuff. Because I just take the common sense view that
Common sense.
death is the state where I'm before I'm born, I don't worry about that state.
Do you believe you have a soul?
I didn't exist.
Do you believe you
so
have a
when
soul?
I die, I don't exist. Why should I worry about
Do you believe you have a
that
soul?
state? Well, I believe I got no idea.
Right. So if you do have a soul, what happens to your soul when you die?
If I do have a soul, I don't know what happens to it when I die.
How could you know?
I don't think I could know. That's the thing. How can I know about anything if I don't exist?
No. How could you know if anything happens to your soul when you die?
How could I know if anything happens to my soul if I die? I guess it would be a different type of knowing. It won't be the same type of knowing it won't be the same way I know things right now.
What do you really know?
What
What do you really know?
What do I really know? I mean,
We don't even really know we're here.
perhaps I can say I think therefore I am, so I know I exist. That's all I know, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
If you're sort of going down this skeptical
No. I'm just saying to you, what do we really know? And how many things in our life do we do without even really knowing? So, prime example, if I go to the doctors, I don't ask my doctor to qualify that he's a doctor and show me his medical certificate so I confirm before he prescribes me medicine he's qualified to. Do I? I believe he is. Do I know he is?
No.
But I believe it. And this is human beings by nature. It's what we do. We go through so many things in life believing things without needing proof for it. The problem happens is, and this is the double standard, as soon as God comes into the equation, all of a sudden we need to know for sure. Well, we can't. What happened to the beliefs? All of a sudden now we have to know empirically and stuff. When we don't do that, it's not human beings. So we kind of create a double standard when it comes to this
But
question.
isn't it also in our nature to want to know? Like you said about the doctor
yeah,
thing.
of course it is.
Like, say
Let me
if
give you
I
an
really
example.
wanted to know that guy was a doctor, I'd ask him.
Right. So let me give you an example. When you go on holiday, do you plan?
Yeah.
What do you plan?
Have fun.
Huh?
Have fun.
You plan where you're going?
Eat out. Yeah.
Where you
like
going?
Where I'm going. all
Where you
that.
staying?
Yeah.
What clothes you're going to need? What time of work or college?
Flights,
or whatever it is?
all of that crap.
Flight, everything.
Suntan lotion.
Yeah, everything. Yeah. Who you going with? Make sure they're available. Plan everything to the smallest detail. The most definite thing in your life is death.
I agree with that.
So that holiday might even happen. Yeah, that holiday might even happen. Coronavirus might come.
Oh, yeah, I
Flights
might
are
die,
gone,
yeah.
and you don't go on that. No, you don't die. The holiday's not guaranteed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the holiday can be ended. Coronavirus comes, airports closed down. You ain't going on that holiday. You plan so much, 2-week holiday, and nothing's happening now. But the most definite thing in your life is death, because death is going to come to you. Now, as a human being, it's kind of weird. We're going for 2-week holiday, and we plan to the smallest detail, and yet we've potentially got a journey coming that's eternal.
But I mean, that's the point. It's potentially, right?
Right. So is your holiday potential. right? And this journey now is the rest. This effectively could be your eternal soul, potentially. Okay, and you leave it to chance.